If you try, you might fail, but if you don't try, you will never succeed. This is me, not having proper shim stock, yet trying to make some shims for my chuck. The stage was set to see the master at work. It could only come out as a glorious hello and welcome back. What I wanted to show you today was the proper way to open oil cans with your bench grinder, but you already know how to do that. All jokes aside, we're here to see me making shims for my lathe chuck. I often work with what I have, and I hate to throw away good metal, so the oil can is what I'm using as a shim stock. And yes, I know it's not a proper shimming material, and the thickness is not guaranteed, and there is paint, and it's not the thickness I need. It would still be better than the air gap between my chuck and the spindle, and that I have now. These parts are thin, and I do not care about being flat. I can squeeze them flat with the chuck, the spindle and the studs, as long as they are dimensionally okayish. I tried some Scotch-Brite and acetone to remove paint, but ended up buying proper paint removal gel. The plan is to sandwich the shims between the two aluminum blocks, gluing and clamping them all together, and this will prevent any burrs from forming and keep the thin walls intact. I cast this aluminum myself. I hate to throw away good metal, remember? And for that I have a furnace. You can check the build video on my channel. I can always recast bits and pieces of the aluminum offcuts, so I can do with it as I please. Right now I need to make it resemble a round stock to be able to put it on my lathe, so I'm cutting away pieces, and it's much faster metal removing than turning. And now, when I can hold it, I can turn it. This is a rough casting. I just need to make it round on the OD and flat on the face. The flat part is most important, so a nice finish pass is most appropriate here. After I'm done with the casting, I face the part from my previous attempt. This will be the lower part of the sandwich, and it will stay in the chuck till I'm done turning. So the parts will turn out as square to the OD as possible. It's kind of important because even though I'm making very thin parts, I have to make rather long hole in the sandwich, so the holes can shift by the time I reach the middle, if everything isn't square. Okay, now it's gluing time. I'll be using lots of super glue because I do not want it to move ever. I glue one sheet at a time, applying pressure with the tailstock while the glue sets. And when this part is done, I'll use another fast metal removing technique, the scissors. After that, it's simply turning the whole sandwich to its final OD size. This is the last lathe operation. Since I have this as a sandwich, I can mount it directly to the table of my mill, and if I'm careful enough, I might not even drill into it once. I'm roughly finding the center with a centering drill bit. I will indicate it later, but first I need to clamp the part so I have something to fight later. The part has at least 2 places for the clamps, but I'll manage to squeeze a third one later. The indicating is quite simple if you don't have clamps in the way. In theory, you have to indicate 3 points on a round part, and you're on center. I did just that, 2 points on y-axis and 1 on x. My second x point was a bit shifted, but the needle didn't move, so I'm happy. I set on my DRO to drill a bunch of holes in 15 degrees angle increment, so I have all my holes right on my screen and a few extra. Just have to skip 1 or 3 every now and then. After that it was just drilling. inverting the drone in my head because Y plane on my DRO is inverted, then calculating the next hole from its angular position, going to coordinates, and drilling some more. And of course there was 4 circles around the path with drilling and boring operations. But that came out alright. Thank Chinese people for the DRO. The last operation was drilling the big hole in the middle. There was a lot of chips, lots of sucking and blowing, lots of changing tools. And also this last operation creates those thin walls near the outer holes, and there was a chance of ripping the shims and starting over. But the final inspection shows it came out in spec. And after all the hustle, I finally could relax, give the part a nice acetone bath, massage it with the mullet, heat it with a torch, and by the way, I need to get a heat gun someday. And finally, my shrimps are born, all covered in glue and burnt oil. And after a moment of cleaning, it's feeding time. All jokes aside, the chuck is mounted much more rigidly now, and because, as Robin Rosensi says, everything is made of rubber, I seem to have been bending my chuck before, because now I have much smoother jaw action. The resulting runout is about 30 to 40 microns, a bit more than I expected, but it's consistent, and I can probably live with it. If not, I can play around with it later. Well, that's all for now. Hope you enjoyed this type of video. Leave the comments below, and I see you next time.